Hey everybody, Joe Joseph here for thedailysheeple.com, and this is your new Shot Soda activist post we go. This is really a stunning story. Says state now assumes all homeschoolers are child abusers. Reveals plans for involuntary home visits. This comes, of course, on the heels of the family that had, I think, 15 kids, but they were really adults and everything else. Well, this is just a way for the Gestapo police state to really invade families' privacy, especially those that are trying to take power back or power back from the state. And interestingly enough, before social safety nets, before income tax, before all that stuff, none of this mattered. But once we became assets to the state, then all that changed. When you start talking about head counts of children so that they can get more federal funding. See, when they see a child, they see dollar signs. And if they're not enrolled in the indoctrination process, then the state loses out on money. And that's what they want in the end. But this takes it way too far. Listen to this. Lawmakers in the state of California are now pushing for families who homeschool their children to be subject to involuntary home visits from state employees, treating those parents with the same oversight and involvement that they would give parents who have abused their children. The new regulation could consist of forced meetings with Child Protective Services and other government agencies, which would leave the burden on the parents to prove to the government that they are fit to be parents who homeschool their children, according to state guidelines. As the Washington Examiner reported, if the increase in government oversight becomes law, it would reduce the valid legal options of homeschooling for fundamental parental rights to direct education and school choice for children, to compelled consent to government intrusion upon the sanctity and privacy of the home and school choice. Now, the push for increased government involvement, of course, comes on that case. David and Louise Turpin, a California couple facing 12 counts of torture, and after police learned that their 13 children were severely malnourished, they were forced to stay chained to their beds and living in horrific conditions, among other forms of torture that had been going on for several years. Now, instead of focusing on the tragic nature of the case, some Californians have insisted that the Turpin parents were only allowed to get away with this inhumane behavior because they were registered homeschoolers. And they also argue that the Turpin family is not the only homeschool family children who've been tortured. Yeah. Now, instead of considering the fact that the majority of parents who choose to homeschool their children do so because they're actually responsible and because they have no faith in the public school system, if you think about it, the editorial board of the Sacramento Bee argued that in the same way parents choose not to vaccinate their children, the homeschool movement grew as an offshoot of counterculture, religious and libertarian interests. Yeah, that's right. However, an editorial from the Washington Examiner actually claimed that forcing parents who homeschool their children to adhere to the same regulations as parents who've been convicted of child abuse is absurdly unconstitutional. And they're absolutely right. If you think about that, I mean, what an invasion of your Fourth Amendment right, of your children's Fourth Amendment right. Let's not forget that your children are technically citizens of this country and are afforded constitutional rights. That just doesn't kick in when you're 18 years old. They have them now. They're human beings. In addition to that fact, it says that requiring parents who homeschool their children to be subjected to involuntary home visits, of course, would interfere with their Fourth Amendment right. J.C. Durgard, who was kidnapped from her home in South Lake Tahoe, at age 11, while she was walking home from where? The bus stop. Coming home from what? From school. How many registered sex offenders stalk school buses? But we don't talk about that now, do we? How about all the children that are sexually abused by teachers? We see those stories all over America, right? So what are we doing about that? And that's a state school with government oversight. They can't even get their act together. And they want to go and investigate innocent people who have done nothing to provoke or to even call into question their character. I mean, it's unbelievable. Now, like I said, there is no logical reason for this other than California is in dire straits financially. They're going to be in much more dire straits if the economy goes, which, if you look at the stock market, it's not looking so good, down almost 2,000 points in less than a week. And if that happens, a lot of these municipalities and a lot of these state governments that are heavily dependent on heavy taxation, they're going to feel the pinch. They already are feeling the pinch in what are good times, quote unquote. So what makes you think that this has anything to do about your children's well-being? It has nothing to do about your children's well-being. It has everything to do about getting as many heads into that public school system as they possibly can to get as much money as they possibly can from the feds. That's what it's all about. Even your municipalities, from the state and the feds. That's what it's all about. You boil anything down to anything, guess what it's all about? It's all about the money. You want to solve the problem? Get money out of the equation. How we do that? I have no idea. Until then, keep fighting the good fight, and I'll keep doing what I got to do here. I'm Joe Joseph. This was thedailysheeple.com's News Shot. Feel free to comment below and continue to homeschool your kids. And visit our website at thedailysheeple.com. # wake the flock up. Have a great day, everybody.